Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
And that's that. We can stand up and fight and ride all day through the night. We can make this change right and see our hopes and our dreams come to fruition. It's time to unite as one, calling out to our founding fathers. This is our mission to make you
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Humanity Awakened Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Brian Bolin, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Phil McNamara.
Hello, everybody.
And we're really excited for this show today. We're going to be doing a show on Stranger Things.
I am so excited about this. I just started watching this, and I can't even begin to tell you how amazing this show is. It's on Netflix if you don't know.
And it's definitely has become one of my all-time favorite shows. It's turning into this, it's just driving people crazy in a good way. People are absolutely loving this. The show is actually just killing it.
The best way to describe this show is it's like Stand By Me, but much, much darker.
I would say that it has the funness of the Goonies with the spookiness and creepiness of the X-Files.
Yeah.
That's how I like to describe it. And if you like anything like that, you will love this. But basically, the story follows these young kids who one of their friends goes missing. And in the process of trying to find that friend, they find this mysterious little girl named 11. And as we start to see in the show, by the way, we're going to have a couple spoiler alerts on this show, so if you haven't watched Stranger Things yet, you might want to go watch and then come back and listen to this, or if you want to, you can listen to the show and then have a fresh perspective on all the things that are going on inside it. But basically, they team up with this girl, 11, who escaped from this place called Hawkins Laboratory, which apparently they've been doing some MK Ultra mind control type of stuff there. And they even say and use that word in the show in around episode 4 or 5, I think. And it takes place in the 80s. So this would have actually been some kind of program after MK Ultra was shut down that was probably a little bit more secretive. And because MK Ultra actually got shut down around 75, I think it was. Yeah. And we have an entire live stream that we did that is on our YouTube channel. If you guys want to get more information on this, it is called the Illuminati Music Industrial Complex. And in part 1 of that, we only have part 1 right now. We're going to be doing future live streams in the future. And we show you the origins of MK Ultra and how this was taken from the research and Nazi concentration camps.
It's stunning to find out that our government was involved in this, and not only involved in this, but it's been declassified. So there's a lot of information out there on the internet. You just type in MK Ultra, and you just get page after page after page of information. This and this story of Stranger Things, sort of like Brian said, goes on after the official close of the MK Ultra program. It looks as though officially it closed, but then there was a lot. They probably gleaned a lot of information out of it, and they're now using that information to do whatever it is that they were trying to do, which, in my opinion, looks like they were taking young children, either kidnapping them or growing them genetically, and trying to weaponize them, trying to find out if, in fact, they were kids that had special abilities and enhancing those abilities to the point where they could actually use that as a weapon or use it as some sort of something that they wanted to do. I don't know. It's very closed off about what the process was, but there's a lot of information on this, and one of the things you see just in the world right now is the X-Men. This is not. I'm not saying that human beings have grown to this capacity, but they may have. We just don't know. And that's scary.
If you think about it logically, if you had conquered the mind control ability, the ability to mind control anyone, how would you move on from that project? I mean, we like in the secret world of all this clandestine stuff, they're constantly trying to figure out how to control us on a deeper level. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they figured out how to control an individual. What do you move on from there? A mass group of people.
Right.
And even then, if you go covertly past that into individuals again, you're going to want to figure out, okay, we got them to control them. How are we going to weaponize them? That's obviously the next step.
Right. And the people that are going through this, and also just to piggyback on that too, television is a huge mind control. It was designed that way.
Television programming.
Programming. It's not entertainment. It's not entertainment. It's like, welcome to our program. Okay,
that's how we want you to view life.
That's how we want you to see it. It's still
we see
going
our
on
social
today.
ramifications all based off how, especially in America, how we view TV, movies, and how we operate in life based off television and films.
Exactly, and how they say art imitates life. I think life imitates art much more. And we really, sort of take our cues from TV. We've developed an entire way of dealing with each other through watching romantic comedies of how we deal with our spouses. It's completely different than what you would normally do.
Something I've noticed too with TV a lot now in the last couple of years is they're pushing this "it's cool to cheat on your spouse" thing.
Right.
Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have.
And I'm just like that. And everyone I talk to, I'll talk to people when I see that on TV, and I'm like, "What do you think about that? Do you think that's normal? Is that normal?" Like, because I don't feel like it is, and that's not how I want to treat whoever I'm with. That's not the way that. It's just not a moral standpoint, and they keep pushing that and pushing that and pushing that. And everyone I ask, they say, no, that's not what I would do. No, that's not what other people do. But they keep trying to push that and make you think that it's acceptable. And I have a fear that the younger kids, 8th grade, 9th grade, are going to come up seeing that and just think it's normal.
I agree. And, it's really important that we start to really, doing shows like this really helps educate the younger people. We want our younger audience to come in, talk about this openly, and be very, very, well informed on some of the stuff that the people that you're voting for are planning and are paying for. And it's really important that you know this, and that not everything that you see on TV is real, and not everything that you hear on the radio is real. And we're trying to bring some realness to you. And so this show is really kind of a way to start that ball rolling. And this show, Stranger Things, has been just a mind-blowing thing for me. So why don't we get into some of the stuff that it talks about and where we're going with it.
Before we get too deep into the conspiracy type connections with Stranger Things, and after all, the show is called Stranger Things, based on actual events, and we're gonna get into that. But before we get into that, I kind of want to just if you guys didn't know how big of a deal Stranger Things actually is, and how big of an impact it's making, and how this is becoming acceptable in social consciousness to people are into this kind of stuff now where they never have been before.
Right.
I know a lot of people that said when they saw this show, I never liked the X-Files, but once I saw Stranger Things, I got into that.
Right.
And so we're seeing this huge turn in the consciousness of what people are finding acceptable. And I think they did a beautiful job of blending the conspiratorial nature, the mysterious nature, the adventurous. That's what I felt the entire time, was more adventure than anything, and like the mystery behind the adventure, and like it just totally grabbed me in that aspect. But according to BusinessInsider.com, Netflix is doing extremely well with this show. It's one of their biggest hits, And in the first 16 days, 8.2 million people watched Stranger Things.
That's
8.2 million in the first 16 days. And it got 94% Rotten Tomatoes, which is like incredible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Usually they're so hard on people.
Yeah.
But and then a 96% audience rating, which is really good.
It's kind of amazing. And honestly, you know, this shows that our culture is changing. We're opening our minds to the idea that some of the stuff that we heard back in the day as conspiracy theory is actually stuff that's going on. And it's so far-fetched that, you know, these kinds of things could go on. It's just beyond the capacity of most people to understand. But I know that you as our audience are well informed on this stuff. So, you know, it's not, we're preaching to the choir here, but really, you know, if you're new to all of this, there's so much going on, and it's not necessarily happening to you. It might be. You might be one of these people. But realistically, you know, this is just information that you need to have just to have a broader sense of what the world really is. It's important. And, you know, these shows like this are very, very telling of the direction in which our culture is headed. We really want to know these things. We want to have disclosure. We want to be informed. We don't want to be these sheep walking around saying whatever TV says is true.
Yeah, and once again, before we get into the crux of what the show's about, why don't we talk about that a little bit as far as this being acceptable to people. It says right here that co-creator Matt Duffer told Rolling Stone that Stranger Things had been rejected 15 to 20 times by different networks before Netflix.
Congratulations to Netflix. Thank you for being forward-thinking.
But yeah, exactly. But that's very interesting to me because Phil and I were just talking before the show about whether or not the show was allowed. Was it allowed to be on? Did it slip through the cracks? You know, they're openly talking about MK Ultra in this, and a lot of things that have actually happened. A lot of this show is completely based on actual events.
Right.
And that's what we're going to get into. And obviously, right here, some of the networks probably didn't want to take a risk on something like this. Understandable. And possibly some of those networks might have been linked up with some of the bigger top dogs who had to think, okay, right now we're going through a time where we're going through a soft disclosure period, for sure. Like it's happening every single day. And this would be a great way for soft disclosure, and also read the public's response. How accepting are people of this type of information and this type of entertainment programming? You know?
See, I honestly believe at this point that because we've had this 50 to 70 year denial of extraterrestrials and all of these different things, that it's created a backlash. And I really believe that it's actually starting to work against the system now that people are like, wait a minute, for 70 years you've been telling us that none of this is true, yet every single day or every week something new comes out about it and people are talking about it. There are whistleblowers everywhere. And so these people aren't just coming out of the woodwork just talking to hear themselves talk. A lot of them are under a great deal of stress and possible, you know, death threats if they talk about some of these things, but they're doing it anyway because they know that we need to know.
Let's be real too. The term conspiracy theory, and like we talked about this, or conspiracy theorists, we talked about this on past shows where that term started first being thrown around by COINTELPRO people inside the UFO groups in the 60s or 70s who would throw that term around, people they wanted to discredit who were actually had truth to what they were saying.
Right. And
that term just kind of took off. And now people who talk about this stuff are considered conspiracy theorists, which it's just, to me, it's like a word that I feel so much offense to, because the people who call us that, even just regular people walking around the street or some of my friends, it's like they say it in this way where we talk about things that have no credibility, so therefore they should not even look into it at all because it's just hocus pocus.
Right. And what we really are is alternative theorists or alternative thinkers, you know? Thinkers or critical thinkers. And that's what they were trying to subvert back in the 50s and 60s. They didn't want anybody to think outside their little box. And so if you did that, then you were considered a conspiracy theorist, and they put the foil hat on you and sent you off into into the mountains and go live in a cabin. And that's just not what it is. There's so many people now that are involved in learning about these alternative or less than mainstream events.
Most of the people who use that term fluently usually have gone to this prestigious university or whatever it is, where that's a form of programming too. People who put together those universities and colleges, and where like people look at you in a certain plane where if you're not well educated, quote unquote, from these places, then you don't know anything.
Right.
And it's just total BS.
In fact, your entire career is based on, your entire life is based on how many letters you have after your name, and how many years you went to all these different places. But the reality of it is that the people, especially in the circles that Brian and I travel in, a lot of them do have a lot of credentials, but a lot of them have done a lot of research for many, many decades on these extraterrestrial events, and ancient alien theory, and all of these different things. And these are not stupid people. These are very, very smart people. We know a lot of them, and they're very, very intelligent, and they're not just out there making accusations or saying crazy stuff.
They've been there. They've done the research.
They've been there. They've done there. They bought the T-shirt, and it's just ridiculous that we were even having this discussion in 2016, almost 2017. Let's grow up.
Well said, Phil.
Yep.
All right. Well, on that note, let's get into this. Full of coffee.
Full of coffee.
So let's get into this. So I wanted to start off something that I've been looking online, and some people have been talking about how there's MK Ultra connections to the storyline of Stranger Things. However, nobody's really talking about the Montauk aspect of this, and that's something that we wanted to talk about as well on this show. Because to me, even in the first episode, I was watching it and I was like, where have I heard this storyline before? Because I knew it wasn't just something somebody just randomly made up. I was like, I've heard this story before, but it was in something I was watching of insider testimony or whistleblower testimony, and I'm pretty sure it was from a old David Wilcock video of somebody he was interviewing. I think it was one of his insiders, Jacob or Daniel or one of them. And so basically I wanted to read you guys a little bit about what the Montauk Project was. So you want to start it off, Phil?
Yeah, sure. So the Montauk Project is an alleged series of secret United States government projects that were conducted at Camp Hero, or the Montauk Air Force Station on Montauk, Long Island. And they were for the purpose of developing psychological warfare techniques and exotic research, including time travel. And so Jacques Vallée, Vallee.
For those of you who don't know, he's a very, very prominent UFO researcher in the 60s. And I believe he was even allowed to see the Project Blue Book files when those were going on.
I believe he did too.
He worked closely with those people, but I don't think he was actually hired by Blue Book.
I've heard his name almost all my life.
Very well-respected UFO researcher.
So he describes some alleged, some allegations of the Montauk Project as an outgrowth of stories about the Philadelphia experiment.
Real quick, if people don't know what the Philadelphia experiment was basically an experiment into time travel with a Navy ship that happened in, what year was this? October 28th, 1943, sometime around there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Navy Star Destroyer, the USS Eldridge, was they were trying to do time travel with it. And the crazy thing about that was basically what they were trying to do is that they were trying to cloak it invisible. They were trying to render it invisible, to have cloaked, so it wouldn't show up on enemy radar, basically.
And we're talking 1943 here.
Yeah. So they were already into that, and it's obvious they were, looking into this from old, Nazi files, probably.
So yeah,
but what happened is that they actually time traveled the ship.
Yeah.
By accident. And the story goes that there was this big mist that came up off the ship. It actually disappeared and then showed up down a mile down the coast or whatever. And but when they looked inside, the seamen inside, they were half of their bodies were inside the ship, like they were with the walls.
Yeah, they had been fused with the bulkheads, and that's a really, aside from being an awful way to die.
They pretty much all died. They couldn't get them out.
I believe there was a survivor or two, and they were probably whisked away in some dark lab somewhere to be, never heard from again.
Mm-hmm.
But the Montauk Project is very important. If you guys haven't heard about the Montauk Monster, you can look that up too. It washed up on the shore.
I have that on my phone actually.
And it was a creature that nobody could identify, and the the story went around that it was some sort of hybrid genetic freak that had been created at Montauk, and it's been debunked and then rebunked and then debunked again, and it's just over and over and over again. But nobody to this day has been able to identify what this animal is.
It says it washed up in Long Island Beach 2008. The creature appeared to have a beak, claws, and almond-shaped eyes like an alien, according to New York Magazine.
There you go. And New York Magazine is no joke. So
yeah, and I'm reading this article off the Huffington Post, actually.
right.
So
and the Huffington Post is a really good source for getting really good information. They do a lot of research on their own, obviously, and they're a very, very well-respected semi-alternative news source.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep going.
Okay.
If you guys want to say, it's really easy to find that image on Google Images. Just type in the Montauk Monster. It's definitely worth a look. Maybe we'll post it on our Instagram or social media pages. Okay, and it says here, the stories of the Montauk Project have circulated since the early 1980s. According to UFO researcher Jacques Vallée, the Montauk experiment story seemed to have originated with the account of Preston Nichols, who claimed to have recovered repressed memories of his own involvement. Nichols claims to have degrees in parapsychology, psychology, and electrical engineering. He authored a series of books known as the Montauk Project series, along with Peter Moon, the primary topic of which is alleged activities at Montauk. These center on topics including United States government military experiments in fields such as time travel, teleportation, mind control, contact with alien life, and staging faked Apollo moon landings, framed as developments which followed a successful 1943 Philadelphia experiment. These culminate in a hole ripped in space-time in 1983. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting chills talking about it. That last sentence is the entire basis for what Stranger Things is based off of.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that the story takes place in 1983, and we're following along these. The people at Hawkins Laboratory in Stranger Things are trying to find this monster that ripped a hole in space-time, and now he's roaming around on the other side of the upside down because 11 refers to the parallel dimension as the upside down.
Right.
Or the 11 and the boys, however you want to look at them. But so this is the entire premise of the entire Stranger Things story.
Right.
And this is when it kind of came back to me when I was watching the first episode. And I was like, where have I heard this story? 1983, ripped hole in space-time. And there's an insider that, like I said, that I'm pretty sure David Wilcock was researching. It might even been a Preston Nichols interview. I'm not sure. But of an insider talking about how somehow there was a hole ripped in space-time at one of these like government facilities. And a monster came out. And I've heard 2 or 3 different insiders talk about this exact event. And it came out, destroyed a whole bunch of equipment and blah, blah, blah. And like, so in the insider world, this is a true story that actually happened. And what I think is that the Duffer Brothers most likely saw that same interview I saw.
Yeah.
And developed a story around it.
That's what it sounds like to me, too. But, I mean, just the idea that here's the problem, and this is just me being me. So, people are messing with time and messing with space-time, and they don't know what they're doing. And even though they're scientists and they believe they know what they're doing, when you're delving into a different universe or a different dimension, you have no idea what the laws of that dimension are. You can guess, but ultimately it's up to the, once you've ripped a hole in it or something comes through from the other side, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get back in. So, this thing may still be loose, and they may have never caught it, and who knows what it's doing, and who knows what else came through. And once you create a little hole like that, anything could come through.
Or has it happened since then?
I'm assuming that it already has.
And check it out. We have CERN, who's been trying to do that.
We're trying to create a black hole. Okay.
They openly in the public are talking about this.
I know that sounds like a really cool idea, but the idea is that if you create a black hole on a planet and it gets out of control, goodbye planet. It just instantaneously disappears.
I was looking at doing some research for the show earlier, and I found an article from 2008 of, it says, botanist This is on the Register. .co.uk. Botanist sues to stop CERN hurling Earth into parallel universe.
Right. So, if people are concerned enough that they're suing the government, that they're and CERN is based in Europe, but it's
Geneva, Switzerland.
Switzerland. That's a concern that we should all be be looking into, because we don't know what they're doing, and quite frankly, I don't think they know what they're doing.
It says here, firstly, Wagner is concerned that careless atom boffins might slip up and create a miniature black hole. This would then suck in surrounding mass, gaining unstoppably in size and power in a runaway process until it had engulfed the entire Earth and packed it down in its swelling, unescapable event horizon. And they have the allowance to do that.
Right. And they've been funded to do that. So that's something we definitely need to keep our eye on. And
there's some other interesting thing that just came out with CERN recently of this. Did you get that link I sent you? It was on Coast to Coast website of them. There's this black mass ritual or some kind of ritual going on at CERN of a mock human sacrifice. From the video, you can see an actual video of this. You see people in black robes at the CERN building, and there's some statue of a god in the background, and then it looks like someone takes out a dagger or something and just starts knifing this person. And then the person taking the video looks extremely freaked out and scared, and once he sees that, he actually starts running away. And so I don't know how mock of a ritual that was. Either way, whether it was real or not, whether the video is all staged, we know CERN's doing some weird stuff there. And I really do feel like it all goes back to magic. I feel like there's something going on with black magic, and basically the whole use of magic is the invocation and evocation of spirits. And, they could be doing something kind of intense there, especially with if they're doing some kind of ritual and it has to do with magic, most likely. And they're working on, opening portals there. It's kind of a scary thing to think about, but that's the type of people that are doing stuff with this world, that there's someone above them who's allowing them to do that.
And this is where we gotta be informed and be aware and be conscious of what in fact is happening. And so that's why this show is so important. This show goes back to what happened during these proceedings at the Montauk base, and what happened in MK Ultra. What were they trying to get? What were they trying to do with these kids? There's apparently a lot of them out there, and I'm just going to put this plea out there, and I'll do it again at the end of the show. If you are one of these kids, or if you were involved in this project in some capacity, we want to hear from you. I want to learn everything I can about this. And so if you hit us up on our Facebook page, you can hit us up on our Twitter page, you can send us a message on our Instagram. Anything you want to do just to reach out and let us know that you were involved in one of these two projects at some point. We really want to know all there is to know about it. We want to know what they were looking for, what they were trying to do, and because it's really important. So that's my first plea to you guys to give us some information on this.
There's something very interesting too in this article from the Register. Keep in mind this was in 2008, and right here they're talking about possibilities of parallel universes might be in there if something's opened, and they're saying there's a possibility that there could be a parallel Earth ruled by an evil, victorious Nazi empire with space battle cruisers and so forth. That's weird because that sounds a lot of like this universe.
We might be that universe.
Yeah, if you have looked into like what Corey Goode and David Wilcock are talking about, it seems to be what the case is.
Yeah, and just as another offshoot of this whole thing with the Montauk Project and the MK Ultra Project, there is some extraterrestrial involvement. Apparently, there were several different varieties of greys involved in this, and reptilians.
Seen at the base.
It's pretty clear at this point, and I'm not even going to get into an argument with anybody about this, that there are greys and reptilians. They're here. They've been here. They may have seeded our race. We don't know what the extent of their involvement in our society is, but they are obviously not very, very friendly. there are apparently some grades that are friendly, but I guess you wouldn't know them unless they came up to you and said, "Hi, we're the friendly ones." But reptilians by and large have been pretty malevolent and usually involved in some of these darker aspects of our society and our genetic manipulation and things like that. So, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it seems to me that if you're if you have some sort of psychic ability, something, you can move things with your mind, you can read minds, you can see into the future, you can do whatever it is that you need to be, whatever you're able to do. It's pretty scary that there's people out there that would exploit that, to weaponize that, to make you a dangerous being, to make you a sleeper, so that you're just walking around in your life, but you have all this weird stuff going on in your head that you can't place, and maybe you have a secondary life where you were involved in these proceedings and you can't place why you have these memories, and you have screen memories placed over them and they're not working properly, and here you are trying so hard to live your life, and you feel like you're going insane, and and then suddenly for whatever reason they decide this is the time that you're going to be awakened, and pop, there you go. And so
on that note, it's funny you're talking about that, because in some of the research I was doing for this, I found a interview between I believe it's from David Wilcock and an insider named Daniel, and at the end of it, he's talking about his involvement at Montauk, and at the very end he's talking about, this might be a screen memory or an old memory that he has in nightmares, and it says here, "I've had nightmares about being hunted down by Masonic types after strange rituals in very ritzy churches, usually getting hit by a dart and knocked unconscious. I don't know how it all fits, but they did have some pretty odd connections with the Crowley crowd at Montauk." And I think that's very interesting, because Crowley was clearly involved in black magic. He's the one who added the K on magic. And, it's clear that they're just up to no good. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're messing around with black magic and you're messing around with mind control and psychic mind control and stuff like that, which is kind of where I want to steer the show more towards right now, is we get to follow this story of 11. And in Stranger Things 11, a lot of people think that she's just in a CIA program, but it's pretty clear that there's a mix of some Montauk stuff going on there too, because I don't know if you noticed this, if you got this far yet, but they do the teddy bear sequence with
oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but I know about what that is.
Yeah, with 11, where they give her the teddy bear after she's had some abuse. And there's also a scene where they have 11, and there's a sensory deprivation scene, and right here in one of our slides for our Illuminati Music Industrial Complex Part 1, we talk about MK Ultra techniques used. And it says here, "The published evidence indicates that Project MK Ultra involved the use of many methodologies to manipulate individual mental states and alter brain functions, including the surreptitious administration of drugs and other chemicals, sensory deprivation, isolation, and verbal and physical abuse." And we see the scene of 11 in a sensory deprivation tank, and then they have her psychically remote view this high-ranking Russian general or someone like that, and her job is to kill him psychically with her mind.
Right.
And this is totally what one might envision the MK Ultra project moving on to, with psychic remote viewing and killing. And this is other things that there's documents out there of, and multiple insiders talking about that this stuff goes on all the time.
Right.
And her role is to try and kill this dude, but she ends up noticing that she and the other monster are linked in some kind of way on the psychic plane, and they notice each other. And once it's noticed, all hell breaks loose, and that's actually how the monster breaks in and rips the hole in space-time into our reality in Stranger Things.
If there are things out there that are in a different dimension that are strong enough to rip a hole through and come through, and we're messing with that, that's terrible. Because we don't know what we're getting ourselves into, and it's hard enough to deal with our own reality, dealing with something else that's from a different reality that has different laws. Where maybe it's killing everything on the planet is totally okay for it. Maybe it eats people. Who knows? Who knows what we're dragging through these holes, and we really need to be more conscious of what we're doing. I'm being human consciousness being what it is as we're expanding and we're getting more and more involved in meditation and and opening up portals in our minds to be able to access different parts of our psyche and our soul. We have to be very careful to protect ourselves against the darker forces that will also be there too, because this is a dualistic universe, and so where there's good, there's bad. Where there's fat, there's skinny. Where there's old, there's young. That's just the way things are set up. So just be aware of what you're doing when you're meditating. If you're using any kind of mind controlling substances, just be aware that you're opening up portals that maybe you shouldn't open.
That's right.
I've opened a few. That's why I know that.
Well, I feel like that kind of wraps up for me, like what I mainly wanted to cover with Stranger Things, and getting the Montauk angle in there, and understanding that this isn't just all mind control. Like, they didn't even show Eleven having other alters,
right?
Like it's called. Like, she didn't seem to have multiple personalities. She just kind of seemed to have one personality that they were trying to train her for. Right. Which was to remote view and psychically kill people. And
this may have been her only actual skill.
Yeah.
So maybe they weren't trying to create alters, but they were just trying to enhance what they had. And maybe some of these other kids, apparently, since her name is 11, it presupposes that there was 1 through 10. So maybe we're going to find out who some of these other kids are. The fact that they're doing this to children is just beyond the pale to me. And this is true. This is happening to kids. And a lot of kids go missing and are never heard from again. And this may be part of where they're going. And we really need to find out more about this. And so
this is what the Montauk Chronicles is about.
Right.
The movie about that. So if you guys want to get more information about Montauk, check that out.
It's a movie called The Montauk Chronicles. And it looks pretty amazing. So definitely check that out. And again, if you're out there and you're one of those people and you've been through this, we really want to hear from you. If you know somebody that is, please get them in touch with us. We really want to talk to them more.
Something else that I thought was really cool in Stranger Things is that when this is later on, this is in one of the last 2 episodes where they're trying to find where the portal is, and they're using their compasses to try and find where the electromagnetic energy is messing with their compasses. Which is so smart, because I totally feel like that's what you would do if you were trying to find a portal or something, or an entrance to a parallel universe, because it would probably completely mess with the electromagnetic field of the Earth and how magnets work and compasses, So I really liked how they did that. They were throwing in some really cool stuff that just made it fun, added to the adventure, added to the mystery, and the overall conspiratorial nature of the show, and I had a lot of fun with it. I can't wait for season 2.
It's been renewed. Yay!
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
And if you guys want to get some deeper information on MK Ultra and what that's all about, definitely check out our Illuminati Music Industrial Complex video that we have up on our YouTube channel. We have some really in-depth, deep information there. We have a whole nother slideshow ready for part 2. We're just kind of, making sure that we round out the edges of that before we fully release it. And we'll be doing another live stream very soon, and we're very excited about that.
Yeah.
And I think that about wraps it up for us on this episode.
Awesome.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave us a like or a comment.
Please.
And we really enjoy it when you guys engage with us. I've been noticing a lot more engagement on Instagram, which is awesome. I'm really excited about that. And if you guys leave us a comment or something, we reply.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. So we just want to let you guys know that when you get involved, we get involved, and we're all gonna have a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Have a great day.